Back to Real Estate Talk, live in the studio for the next hour is our friend Heather Anderson, Real Estate Concierge, 855-732-6700. Heather, a debt-to-income ratio, break it down to an 8th grade level. Hell, break it down to, 5th grade level. Some of my relatives. Debt-to-income ratio means what, and why is it so important when buying a house?
Okay, this ratio is key, okay? So this ratio is the total monthly debt obligations or payments divided by your total monthly take-home pay or after-tax pay. So money in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So if I make $35,000 a year, I don't take home $35,000 a year because Uncle Sam gets some of that, my 401k gets some of that, my healthcare gets some of that. All those monies come out, and then the money that goes in my pocket, let's call it $30,000 for easy math, right? That's my real money. Okay, so that's the number we use. And when we talk about monthly debt obligations, right? Obligation is something I'm obligated to pay, right? So that's my car payment, that's my rent, that's my, student loan payments if I'm not in deferment.
Anything that's on your credit report.
You got it. That's an easy way to say it.
Paying your brother-in-law on a bet that you made does not go against your debt ratio.
That's right. That's right. So those are what we kind of call like variable expenses, things that aren't on our credit reports that aren't fixed, right? Variable expenses, like maybe I can pay my brother that bet back in monthly payments, right? Because I can't afford the whole amount now.
Here's some advice that I would give the listener on that. Never, ever, ever, right? Talk about debt owed when applying for a mortgage if it's not on your credit report, right? And the whole mortgage process is they're going to do a lien search. They're going to look at the credit report. They're going to update that credit report even during the mortgage process.
Up until the very end.
Prior to drawing docs, they pull credit. Here's what you don't do. You don't go out and say, man, I went over to Heather, and Heather turned me on to a loan officer, and we're going to buy this nice, brand new 2-bedroom home. And then Saturday night, doing the pre-price, doing the option period. Saturday night comes along, and you drive past there, and you got the keys, you want to look at it, and you had a bottle of wine. And then Sunday morning, you go look at 5 new options for a car to go in that garage, and they pulled your credit 5 times. Right? You don't do that.
Don't do that. Go unlock it. Pretend like you're in financial prison.
That's right.
When you're buying a home.
And that's what I like about a real estate concierge. You hold people's hand to walk. You're the mentor for somebody in buying a piece of property. 855-732-6700. 855-732-6700. If you're thinking about buying a home, if you're thinking about selling a home, I got to tell you, you're definitely not going to be a number in the stack or real estate concierge. They'll tell you how to fix things, or how to have a solution to it. 855-732-6700. Carry on, Maureen.
Yeah, okay, sir. So according to current guidelines today, now these guidelines change, loan guidelines change all the time. Here's a quick rule of thumb, okay? So the debt-to-income ratio for conventional loans needs to be no greater than 45%. And for FHA lending, it needs to be no greater than 55%. So again, in our buyer orientation, we're going to walk through that. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to tell you what that means, because included in that ratio, it does include your soon-to-be mortgage payment, your soon-to-be PITI. Okay?
Do they, on a mortgage payment, in the ratios, include PIT, pretty U?
No.
All right.
Utilities don't come over into the credit infrastructure.
So it's so important to talk about what the whole adjustment is into the dream of home ownership.
Yeah.
And a really good real estate agent will go, okay, we have the principal, we have the interest, and we have the taxes, depending on if you're escrowing or not, right? and then you got your debt ratios. And if you're sitting on a conventional loan at 41%, right? You can go to 42.
You go to 45, yeah.
45. Let's say
At the most, but we don't want to go that high.
Yeah,
just
but let's see here.
Okay.
My point is, you got to have good people around you, because the mortgage lending process does not take into account that in June, in your new house, it gets to be 105 degrees in Texas.
Right.
And you're going to be running your air conditioner. And then when you have a $350 air conditioning bill, you got to have a little bit back for a rainy day, because that wasn't figured in the ratios. And in my opinion, you got to keep those ratios way on back to do justice to the buyer.
That's right. Because if our goal is to never get in a short sale and never get in a foreclosure again, if we never want financial destruction, right? If we want to go the other way, we want to build success, not lose everything we've created and built, then we need to talk about that. People need to know what's on the other side of the fence, to your point. Right. So if the bank is talking about 45% or 55%, well, what about the other half of that story? If people are bad at finance and bad at management, then where is that education come in, right?
I agree. I agree.
We have to talk about it, and we have to understand what it means. And most people don't even know how to make a budget. So we're going to teach them how to make a budget. And we walk them through it, literally hold their hand face to face, eye to eye, toe to toe, and we get in deep, Willie. So we're going to teach people that debt to income ratio, number one, sir.
Debt to income ratio, number one. I'll tell you, we're getting ready to come to break here. Before you can have a debt to income ratio, you got to have a credit score. And in the mortgage business, in applying for a mortgage, friend, they throw the high, or they take the high and throw it out. They take the low and throw it out, because there's 3 credit scores, and they use the middle score.
The median score, that's right. And, number 2, actually, segueing, is credit score, also known as a FICO score, FICO. The FICO, just so everybody knows the acronym, it stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation. And that's the main institute that basically says this is what credit is, okay? That's what 99% of lenders of any kind use. So I know a question we get all the time, Willie, is I pulled my credit on Credit Karma and it says XYZ. Well, what the lender uses is not what you always see.
Hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
Because I've got to go to break. Real estate concierge, Heather Anderson. Get to know her. We can't cover all this in an hour. We'll talk a little more about. I got some more time.
Oh, good.
Carry on.
Oh, okay. What a treat. Okay. So, so the FICO score, right, is it's calculated on 5 categories. This is so cool, Willie. Like, I've been in this business 13 years. I've done almost, a plethora of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've got my knees dirty a lot. And I tell you what, I didn't know some of this stuff, so I'm really excited to share it, all right? There's 5 categories the FICO score is based on. Number 1, payment history, which takes up about 35% of your score, or about 297 points at the most, okay?
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that cool? The number 2 is amounts you owe. The amounts you owe, so your debt. That's 30% of your credit score, or about 255 points. And I'm going to say this kind of slow in case people want to write it down. The length of your credit history is number 3. That's about 15% of your score, or about 127 points. Number 4 is new credit that you take on. New credit. That's 10% of your score, or 85 points. And the 5th and last one is types of credit. That's also 10% of your score, or 85 points. Wow, huh? The scores range from, let's see, we got 350 to 850, okay? 350 to 850. So those points I just described, if it's perfect, all that equals 850. You follow me?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So anything below about a 620 is when we start getting into murky waters, okay? what we call like a very good or excellent credit score is about 700 to 850.
Mm-hmm.
Good credit score 680 to 699, and then acceptable is 620 to 679. So acceptable gets you approved for a conventional mortgage.
Yeah, got to go to break.
Okay.
When we come back, can we talk more about these credit scores?
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is probably a button that people
Totally.
understand about. Here's the deal. We don't know about your back-end ratios or PMI. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Or do you got to have assets? The one thing people relate to every day is credit score.
It's a universal language.
Yeah. Heather Anderson, real estate concierge. Get to know her. 855-732-6700. 855-732-6700. When we come back, we'll talk more credit scores. And we'll be back in a Willie Skosh.